and actually thought I was a bad person for having voted against those things. Now, that's enough about that. Now, what we have to do is, I am a trained politician. I know politics, I know how things get done, I know how laws are made, and I know what you need. You don't need a petition to talk to an elected official, and be careful about always writing your name and address and phone number and everything. They already know who you are. They know everyone who's in this room. And all you have to do is go and say everyone in the room agreed or everyone didn't. And it's all on camera. We're all on camera right now. I mean, what's with the signatures and all the, where everyone lives, and so be careful. Everything that seems good, sometimes take a breath for a while, sleep overnight, and think about it. The other thing I was told by Mr. Eason over an issue, that when you're in the trenches and you're at war, that's not the time to look at the person in the trenches with you and say, you owe me 15 cents. So I think anyone in this room who thinks someone owes you 15 cents, go get your 15 cents, because we're getting ready to go into war. And I get tired of little petty things people say about people, and who's telling this. No one has to tell on us. We're being taped. You know, and who did this and who did that. We need to get over it. It uses up too much energy. We can only do the best we can do. We have no power except that we come together. And then we have a lot of power. I have a book that I read every night. It's called There Is a River by Vincent Harding. I don't study slavery. I constantly study those who resisted oppression. And that's what we should study, because there's some good lessons in there on how to resist oppression. My husband says to me, damn, Dawn, you're like a cat with 9 lives. You always land on your feet. That's because I study how to resist oppression. I know me, I know the law, I know politics, and most of all, I know my people. And I love my people. But we need to come together and start doing things. We live in a democracy. Right in this room, we were the #1. I went to South Africa, and know why they know Seattle? Because we were the #1 force in America that reversed apartheid. And we can't even reverse apartheid for ourselves. Now, this is ridiculous. Think about that. Many of us in this room, we know what to do, and we need to do it. And also, because of that, they are now a leading democracy. 90% of their people voted last week. 90%. Do you know what our voting record is? 27%. We can't vote anyone in, and we can't vote anyone out. We won't even go vote. And they'll say, just put a 33-cent stamp for freedom, and we won't do that.
There's no one to vote for.
Well, there are people to vote for. There's people to vote for. That's what makes me think I don't want to do this. Anyway. Also, I'd like to say that I'd like to see Harriet Walden as part of the final analysis of this and review. I think that she's done a good work, and we trust her. And as for the record, this is the first time in 12 years I'm unaffiliated with anything. I am speaking for myself.
Great.
So that's good. And for the gentleman who spoke about, thought that the community should pick community review, we have to be careful. Think about that. Remember, a lot of people got up and spoke about the neighborhood groups and the power that they're given, and we aren't there. So if that's the power for our communities, and they select the community review board, then that's not going to do us very good. So we do need to look at how community councils are held accountable, who they report to, and report back. I must say that Nick Licata, he's a city councilman who was put in office by people who hold him accountable every day. He reports to them every week, and he asks them what to do on everything, and he only does what they say to do, but they are willing to respond back to him, and I think that's a good thing. And once we learn to hold our people accountable that we put in office, but help them do the work, then that would be very good. I think that's mainly what I want to say. And also, when a fish stinks, look to the head. It's smelling in the head. So what is wrong with our police department is in the head of the police department. And we will be fighting with officers the rest of our life if we stop looking to the head. And the mayor has a responsibility to oversee the police. Now, you don't need a petition to see a mayor or to sit in his office on a daily basis. He has to see you. He has to respond to us. We're citizens, whether we vote or not, but we should start voting. So all that's what I wanted to say, and thank you. We have new ministers in town. Reverend Hunter left us. Reverend Jeffries tell him that our nights get long, and I know he's busy, and we most likely scared him back to where he came. So go tell him that we're okay and we need his help. And he is a wonderful man. I just wanted to say that. And we have 2 new young ministers, and every minister needs their politician, and every politician needs their ministers, because in our community it works hand in hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Don.
My reluctance is how this is going to be used. This person's already been victimized enough, and I'm very torn about talking about this, but it does need to be stated. Somebody talked about the stigma around mental illness and how the police deals with people who are mentally ill. Back in April, there was a young man in my home who was having an episode, and after I contacted my pastor, I contacted a nurse from my church, I contacted another member, other folks were there. Over a period of several hours, we were trying to convince this person to voluntarily commit himself. We contacted the mental health facility that he's affiliated with. They gave us they basically instructed us to call the police or to convince him to go in. Now, obviously, when a person is having an episode, they're not coherent enough to make that kind of logical decision to commit themselves. So anyway, after several hours, we finally got to the point where we got into the car. We were in the car, over the car phone, the person who was actually a nurse was calling ahead, trying to make sure that everything was going to be straight when we got to the hospital, trying to get the process facilitated so that it wouldn't be escalated. When we got there, because we didn't know how he was going to react, when we got him in the car, we didn't know what was going to happen when we got there. Of course, we got to Harborview, he did not want to get out of the car. So we were in the process of trying to convince him to come in and voluntarily commit, because he had done some things that endangered himself and others in my home, and it was evident that he did need to be committed. During the course of this time, the staff began to be somewhat alarmed, because he's a black young man and he's big. And I heard this so many times during the course of this ordeal. I was in the car with him. We drove around to the emergency door, and I was in the car with him. My pastor was on the passenger side, kneeling down, trying to get him to get out of the car. I was talking to him. Next thing I looked up, there were about 9 police cars that rolled up on the scene. And then there were about 15 officers who were lined up on both sides of the car. And I could hear them making comments like he's big. And all the time I'm looking at him, I didn't want him to get escalated. And I was even growing concerned about his safety as well. But so it was a dual thing. We're trying to keep him calm, still trying to convince him to come in and commit, and yet I could feel this presence and I could feel this tension mounting around us. And I could feel his tension, because I know how my father was. I can speak from personal experience with the way black men feel about the police. It increases anxiety. I know my daddy, I know many people in my family have that anxiety, and it was happening with this young man. He was sent up when he was 16. He was sent to an adult facility when he was 16. So he's had this long track record with the police and with the justice system in general. So it was beginning to escalate. He was beginning to get agitated. At this point, one of the police officers came to my side of the door. I was sitting on the driver's side. She said, it was a female, there were 3 others there. She said, you need to get out of the car. And I said, no, that's okay, I want to stay with him. At that point, she said, we're not going to be responsible if you get hurt. And I said, no, I'm okay, I won't hold you responsible. I prefer to stay in here. About 35, 40 seconds later, the car door got jacked open. I got pulled out of the car. And then I didn't know why this was happening, because I'm thinking, I've spent hours trying to get this person to come down here. Now I'm getting jacked out. So I pulled my hand back. The next thing, there were several officers on me. They slung me up against the police car. They put my hands behind my back. My pastor's in shock on the other side of the car, because he's still kneeling down in the process of trying to get the young man to get out of the car. He stands up. He's in shock. The other people who were with me are in shock. I'm tripping because I can't understand what's going on. And in fact, I was about to say, come on, let's get him, because I was upset myself. I couldn't understand what was happening. So anyway, the commanding officer, or the sergeant who was in charge, actually came around, told them to let me go, and they did. And at that point, a female officer, she was standing about maybe 2 feet away from me, she said something to me, she was angry, and then she pushed me. She pushed me as hard as she could. This was after she was told to step back and leave me alone. And so this is all, it was a very intense situation because we're still trying to get the young man committed, to commit himself. And so I think these are the kinds of incidents, to me, if the police who are working at that precinct, apparently they must frequently get called to Harborview. So they should be skilled in ways of dealing with people who are mentally ill. Obviously, if you're having an episode, you aren't in a position to be thinking rationally. And so therefore, you should not be handling people like they're well and thinking rationally. People who have mental illness are sick just like people who have cancer or any other illness. And I think the police need to be trained in dealing with people so that they don't escalate. And also, the biggest issue there was this young man is big, he has arms like this. They were so intimidated by this young man that they had to get all these police officers, and they were lined up. It was unimaginable. I do have witnesses. I do have the name of the police, the officer who was in charge. After the incident, he came and he spoke with me and two other individuals in the waiting room. He basically apologized for what happened. He said that the police had no right even to get the young man, even to put their hands on the young man, because he did not voluntarily commit. He had not done anything. They did not have the right to put his hands on them. I said, well, hey, but what about me? He said, well, all I can do is apologize. Now, we're in the midst, the problem with mental illness is that you're in the midst of a crisis situation. You don't have time to think about litigation. You don't have time to think about writing letters. I did document the names and all of that, but this has been an ordeal that has gone on for several months. And that's not the only thing going on in my life. I got other stuff. I got a job. I got my own children. I got other issues going on in my life. So most people don't have time to sit around and document all this stuff. And the police are banking on that. So I appreciate the fact that you guys have had this here tonight, and I will give you the documentation that I have with the officer who was in charge and any of the other details. I do want to say, though, I do not have the young man's permission to be saying this. Is why I was very reluctant. I don't like to be talking about folks and victimizing them further. So I would hope that people would be sensitive to his issues. We're trying to help this person move on beyond the horrors that he's experiencing.
In the early morning hours, the dinner restaurants have closed. Visiting guests who sampled last night's Asian cuisine have all gone home. And the Chinatown International District's residents, business people, and employees prepare for a new day. With outsiders, this is an image that is often overlooked. But at daybreak, among more than 100 Asian restaurants and shops in the district, a unique Seattle neighborhood comes to life. One of several successful business people with deep roots in the district is 55-year-old Chinese-American Wei Ying.
I think the future business here in this international district is going to be very good because of all these new developments, and more people begin to move back into in the international district to live and to work.
On weekday mornings, Wei arrives to open his herbal medicine shop, the Korea Ginseng Center. Although a restaurant owner and building developer, Wei begins each day in preparation to sell some 1,000 varieties of herbs, tonics, and animal parts as traditional Asian treatments.
And this we call gentle tonic, which we sell a great deal of this one because it has a vitamin that will help the people who are being weak or needs vitamin A, B, or C. And this is for people who had a lot of gas on the stomach. The ointments for people fall down, had a bruiser, and we had the powder for knife wound, bullet wound. This bear gallbladder, we sell for $100 for Chinese ounce. Now, this is the ginseng root. By eating ginseng at all time, and you will stay in good health. Ginseng, you have to take it constantly to make it work. You cannot just take one time or two or twice to become a Superman.
The Chinatown International District, where Wei conducts business, is a 44 square block area with a growing resident population of 1,583. Racially, the district is 54% Asian and 34% white, with the remainder, for the most part, divided between black and Native American. Roughly one-half of the population is made up of young and middle-aged adults, and many work in the area.
Morning, Maddie. Hi, Sue. Good morning.
Sue Taoka is a young professional, Japanese-American, who has worked in the district for the past 6 years. As a community activist and planner, she begins her day in the offices of Interim, located in the refurbished Bush Asia Center. Interim is a neighborhood improvement agency which began in 1969 as a business development association and evolved into what one observer calls a survival association. The Interim staff works to provide basic services for those of low income.
The issues that we become involved in are primarily survival issues. They deal with making sure that people in the district have a place to live, primarily, can have food available to them and eat regularly, appropriate health care, and their other basic needs. Those are the issues that we look at.
Nearly 1 out of 2 residents in the district are among the elderly who have found affordable housing and cultural companionship. Communication among ethnic groups, however, is sometimes a problem, since the majority of the diverse Asian population is not fluent in English. This handicap is overcome in multi-language apartment buildings by residents finding common grounds to express themselves.
Mostly broken English and sign language,
Leo Aliwana, a retired merchant seaman, wakes each morning in the International House Apartments, one of the district's several subsidized housing units. With ties to the district since 1935, the 83-year-old Filipino-American notes the recent growth and welcomes the many new faces.
Chinatown is well off, We have lots of business here. Every once in a while there is a new restaurant or new coffee shop.
Diet tea.
Oh, diet tea.
Uh-huh.
Is it special ginseng?
No, it's not ginseng.
It's just a diet tea.
By mid-morning, Wei Ying has left the Ginseng Center in the care of his wife Sandra, while he checks on the progress of his Far East building. The Far East is a retail space and market rate housing project. Wei and architect Bob Kovalenko began in 1978.
And I ran into many difficulties until the last couple of years. I got some help from the Department of Community and Development from the city of Seattle. And with my architect, Bob Kovalenko's help, we've been working for several years. We finally get this project started.
You wouldn't sit down and design a building like this from scratch if it didn't already exist. But because it was already here, you start working with the elements that are here. You start working within that framework. You start coming out with some things that you wouldn't ordinarily do. We also wanted it to fit into the international district. So color becomes an important thing. The detailing on the handrails, we used a Chinese basket weave.
I hope what I did will lighten up this corner here, and I hope in the future the people around here will continue to do what I did here to improve these districts. You see buildings being rehabilitated for people to live in. You see commercial space being rented out that was closed formerly. You see buildings looking much better. You see a number of capital improvement dollars that the city has put into the International District. You really see a community that maybe 10 years ago, with the Kingdom going in and I-5 going in, looked like it could be on the brink of extinction. You look at the International District today, and it is not on the brink of extinction. It is on a very strong road of recovery.
We have the potential of having one uniform sign code for the entire district, or...
The International Special Review District Board is a 7-member organization which oversees compliance with regulations on development. After a meeting to discuss a business's sign change request, Sue Tauka keeps a pre-lunch dental appointment with Dr. Henry Chin, who is located in the Evergreen building.
Hi, Sue.
Hello.
How are you?
Although 92% of the residents have earnings in the low-income category, more and more young professionals find the district an attractive place to establish a practice.
I had the opportunity to practice with an older Chinese dentist here in the ID district and realized, in fact, there was a need for bilingual speaking young dentists in this community. Within the last 4.5 years that I've been down here, I've seen a tremendous growth of other young professional people that have moved in.
Lying at the edge of the neighborhood, near the encroaching steel and concrete of downtown, is a small patch of cultivated land. In 1977, after months of a community-wide volunteer effort, 45 garden plots took shape along this terraced hillside. The purpose of the community garden was to supplement income and nutritional needs and to encourage physical exercise and social interaction among the elderly.
How about you, Francis? We come here, first of all, to enjoy the scenery, and most of all, when there is crop, then we harvest the crop and give one to another, you know. Those who do not have, then we give also to help them.
Using the intensive raised bed system, the half-acre garden produces an annual yield of 60,000 pounds of vegetables.
We feel that this garden has not only helped the idea in the sense that it brings a uniqueness to the International District, but that it has made the old-timer, the gardeners, feel much more useful. You know, they contribute their skill to the garden, and that they feel that they have helped build the garden itself.
Lunch hour in the district sees an influx of downtown office workers. Wei lends the chefs a hand in his Cow Cow restaurant. The ability to attract outsiders to the area is deemed vital to business survival here.
It's essential because we got to have people from outside in order to support all the business here, especially the restaurants.
Leo Aliwano takes part in the Preservation and Development Authority's Congregate Meal Program. This program, operating on the lower level of the Bush Asia Center, provides noontime nourishment for a daily average of 144 low-income residents.
You know, Fifth Avenue is a real barrier to
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real barrier.
Sue is often involved in working lunches with city officials in her role as a liaison between the community and City Hall.
It would probably be really good for you because we're talking about. One of the advantages the people in the International District have is that they've worked for a long time with the city, and people have a sense that they know what they need to have, and they know what they want, and they know the difference between the two and can negotiate that.
After the lunch rush, Way visits North Coast importers in the Adams Friedman building to reorder restaurant food supplies.
Several things, like this abalone.
The Yamaguchis have been in the wholesale food business at their present location since 1945. Although it would be more profitable to relocate, Kei Yamaguchi considers more than the bottom line.
Actually, we could be in, say, in the Benaroya or someplace in South Seattle and have space for about 20, 30,000 square feet, and it would be much more economical. But our roots are here, and we prefer to be right in the international area.
Among the more distinctive businesses in the district is the Suchong Company, a Chinese noodle and fortune cookie factory on South King Street, begun in 1917. The company supplies 19 varieties of noodles to restaurants and grocery stores. Although machines have become an economic staple in noodle making, one popular product is still produced by hand. A bamboo roller is used to flatten out the whole egg wonton wrapper dough to a thickness equal to one sheet of bond paper. It is an art that technology has been unable to duplicate. Along with noodles, fortune cookies are also supplied to numerous eateries by the Suchong Company. The cookies which manage to miss the folding machine wind up as unfortunate flats and are sold at discount to the walk-in trade. During an afternoon visit to the community health center, Leo receives information on the status of his heart condition.
Alam mo ba, mayroon pa na magsakit ang dibdib ko, magtumari ko rin nitro.
Inumin mo lang basta every 15 minutes pwede. Halimbawa, minum ka na ngayon, tapos masakit pa.
The community health center filled a health care void in 1975 by providing an outpatient clinic for Asian elderly with
No, she's still speaking with Sergeant Ledford, but I can call Deputy Nibbler in the meantime.
All right. Go ahead and bring it in.
Please rise. You may be seated.
Next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The City Hall Deputy Nibbler.
Come forward, Deputy Nibbler, and raise your right hand. You promise that the testimony you're about to give in this matter before the court is the entire truth and nothing but...
I do.
Witness chair. The optical court.
Right. Is this close enough to the mic?
Try it and see.
Okay. All right.
Good morning, Deputy Nibbler. If you could state your name and spell your last name for the record, please.
Robert N. Nibbler, N-I-B-L-E-R.
And what's your occupation?
I'm a detective with King County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been so employed?
6 years.
And could you just give us a little bit of your background of assignments with the King County Police?
I worked patrol for 4 years, and then I've been assigned as an academy instructor. I taught patrol procedures, defensive tactics, criminal procedures to recruits, and from that position I moved to our advanced training unit, and I've been doing much the same thing. Currently I'm the program manager for our 40-hour in-service training.
Okay, and just describe a little bit of what your duties include as an advanced training
I'm a firearms instructor, EVOC or police driving instructor. I'm a state certified use of force instructor, defensive tactics master instructor, and I teach all of those subjects to our deputies.
And were you working on November 30th of 1999?
Yes, I was.
And what were you doing that day?
My job was to, for training purposes, to film what our people were doing. We wanted to take a look at the tactics that we were using, how effective they were, and to also get a feel for the environment that we were in.
And why were you doing that?
Strictly for training purposes. My job is training, and so we wanted to take a look and see how effective a job that we were doing. One was the training taking. Were they doing what they were taught to do? And two, was it effective? And three, we needed to see what the environment was, what they were being presented with.